Timothy Toothbrush felt worn down to his very last bristle for years. He lived a predictable life perched on the edge of the bathroom sink, scrubbing diligently every morning and night lately, though. His once sturdy blue handle felt loose, and his bristles, once a proud forest of blue and white, were splayed and frayed. He heard the whispers. Too old, not cleaning properly, maybe time for a new one evening. Instead of returning to his familiar cup after a particularly half-hearted scrub. A clumsy hand knocked him sideways. He tumbled, end over end, past the wastebasket, landing with a soft, final plop on the cold, unforgiving tiles of the bathroom floor. Unseen in the gathering gloom that first night outside, the cup was terrifying. Dust bunnies drifted past like tumbleweeds, casting monstrous shadows in the dim light filtering under the door. The roar of the toilet flushing was a terrifying waterfall. A giant spider scurried nearby, its many legs tapping a frantic rhythm that sent shivers down Timothy's plastic spine. He felt utterly insignificant and achingly lonely, missing the warmth of the child's hand, the familiar minty taste, even the routine. He wasn't just tired, he was discarded, forgotten scrap in a vast, indifferent world he never knew existed beyond the porcelain rim. The darkness pressed in, thick and suffocating. Dawn brought dusty light, revealing the sheer scale of his new world. He was pushed along by unseen drafts, swept from the bathroom onto a vast, gritty landscape of hallway floorboards. He bumped against discarded pencil stubs and felt the crushing weight of a dropped sock. Then he rolled into a corner where a small, green glass bottle lay on its side, a jagged crack running down its side. Oh, sighed the bottle weakly. Everything spills out. I can't hold anything anymore. A spark ignited in Timothy, using his worn bristles like tiny brooms. He gently nudged bits of fluff and dust, carefully packing them around the bottle's crack. It wasn't a perfect fix, but the leaking slowed. Thank you, the bottle whispered, a faint, warm glow seeming to emanate from it. For a moment Timothy felt a forgotten sensation. Purpose. His journey continued, a slow drift propelled by currents of air. He found himself in a forgotten space behind a heavy armchair, a hidden world of dust and lost things. There, nestled in a pile of lint, lay a small, white bird's egg. It had fallen from a nest high above and sported a delicate hairline crack. A faint, anxious chirping came from within. Timothy knew fragility. He positioned himself carefully against the crack, his softest, least worn bristles pressing gently against the fracture, offering support. He stayed there for hours, a silent, blue sentinel, shielding the vulnerable life inside from the dusty drafts. The faint chirping softened into a contented peep, a lullaby of gratitude. One stormy night, rain lashed against the windows, and wind howled through unseen cracks under the door. Timothy was caught in a sudden, fierce draft, swept violently across the room towards the balcony door outside. The wind shrieked. He saw a small, struggling fledgling, newly hatched and drenched, clinging desperately to a wind-whipped potted plant on the balcony ledge. It was the egg he'd protected. Without hesitation, Timothy let the draft carry him out through a gap under the door. He flew like a tiny, blue arrow. Driven by the gale, he landed hard against the pot, right beside the shivering bird. Using his entire worn body, he pressed against the tiny creature, shielding it from the worst of the rain with his handle and offering the meager shelter of his bristles. He felt the bird's frantic heartbeat against him, a tiny drum of life in the chaos. Hours later, exhausted and feeling his plastic grow brittle with cold, Timothy heard the balcony door slide open. The child, looking for the source of the tapping sound against the glass, gasped. There was her old, blue toothbrush. Timothy, pressed against a tiny, sleeping bird, both soaked but safe. Tears welled in her eyes as she remembered discarding him with infinite care. She scooped them both up. She warmed the bird in soft cloths and placed it carefully back in its nest, visible now. The storm had passed. Then she turned to Timothy. She didn't throw him away. Instead, she gently cleaned him, rinsing away the grime of his adventure. Timothy found a new home, not on the sink's edge, but in a small, decorated pot on the child's sunny windowsill. He became the guardian of a tiny succulent plant. Sometimes he felt the warm sun on his handle. Sometimes a small, grateful bird would land on the windowsill and chirp a happy song. He was still a tired toothbrush, his bristles permanently bent, his handle slightly cracked, but the deep ache of uselessness was gone, replaced by a profound, quiet contentment. He had journeyed far beyond the sink, faced the terrifying vastness of the world, discovered the strength in kindness, and found a new purpose in the gentle warmth of the sun and the memory of a tiny heartbeat sheltered against him in the storm. He was Timothy Toothbrush, weary but wise, a quiet hero resting at last.